Well, here are the key elements to include. 1. Disfluencies and filler words. 1. Disfluencies and filler words. Use words like, so, and actually, generously. They shouldn't just be at the beginning of sentences, but authored in the middle of thoughts. Example, it's actually one of the most nutrient-dense plants out there. 2. False starts and repetitions. 2. False starts and repetitions. Speakers often start a sentence, change their mind, and restart. They also repeat words when searching for the next thought. Example, but if I'm eating enough, why does it even matter? 3. Back-channeling and active listening. 3. Back-channeling and active listening. The non-speaking person should constantly interject with short affirmations to show they are listening. This prevents unnatural monologues. Example, host speaker, and it has all these expert speaker, right? Host speaker, like vitamin A, C, and E. Expert speaker, yeah, exactly. 4. Overlaps and interruptions. 4. Overlaps and interruptions. Since no ellipses are allowed, use M dashes to indicate when a speaker trails off or is abruptly cut off by the other speaker. Example, expert speaker. You see, the synthetic vitamins just sit there and host speaker. They just pass right through you, right? 5. Conversational pacing and colloquialisms. 5. Conversational pacing and colloquialisms. Use contractions, can't, wouldn't it, and casual phrasing rather than academic prose. Sentences should feel slightly unstructured and spontaneous. Example, that paints a totally different picture of the whole, sterile supplement aisle, 6. Punctuation restrictions. 6. Punctuation restrictions. Strictly avoid ellipses. Use commas for brief pauses and M dashes. For longer pauses, trailing thoughts, or sudden shifts in sentence structure. 6. Punctuation restrictions. Natural notes.
So, if you just look at the back of a standard multivitamin bottle, you're going to see this list of chemicals perfectly engineered in a pristine laboratory somewhere.
Right. It looks incredibly precise.
Exactly. Feels so precise. But we're doing a deep dive today, custom tailored for you, and we're looking at a pretty provocative question. What if that exact laboratory precision what if that's exactly why those vitamins aren't actually working for you?
Yeah, it's a good question.
Right.
Right.
What if our daily nutrition actually needs to come from complex, messy, real plants instead of just a handful of synthesized, isolated pills?
It's a question that completely upends how we've been taught to think about wellness for the last 50 years?
Easily 50 years, yeah.
We've been so conditioned to believe that human health is just a math equation.
Right. Calories in, vitamins in.
Exactly.
Yeah.
We like things categorized, neatly boxed up with exact milligram counts, just because it gives us this false sense of control over our bodies. But biology isn't a math equation at all. It's a complex ecosystem.
Which really brings us to the core of our mission for this deep dive today. We're looking at a stack of sources, but primarily we're digging into an article and a really in-depth dietitian review titled Ditching Pills for Plants.
Yeah, it's a fascinating read.
It really is. It features all these insights from a registered dietitian, Dr. Sarah Mitchell. And, if you're someone who just wants to stay well-informed without totally drowning in the absolute chaos of the supplement aisle, because it is a nightmare in there.
Well, it's overwhelming.
Totally overwhelming. So we are going to try to extract the signal from the noise for you here. We're really examining this massive shift toward whole food nutrition. Specifically, we're focusing on an ancient leafy green called moringa and looking critically at a product called Moringa Magic as sort of a case study for this whole movement.
And, to even begin evaluating a plant like moringa, or any whole food movement really, you have to look at the environment that made it necessary in the first place. You can't really understand the solution Dr. Mitchell is proposing without thoroughly unpacking the total failure of the modern schedule.
Okay, let's unpack this, because Dr. Mitchell, she describes the reality of modern eating in a way that honestly feels uncomfortably accurate.
Yeah, it hits a little too close to home for a lot of people.
It really does. She maps out this perpetual cycle, where your alarm goes off and breakfast is just this rushed afterthought. Like maybe you grab a granola bar that is essentially, let's be real, a cookie in disguise.
A cookie with very good marketing, yes.
Exactly. And then lunch is something you eat out of a wrapper while you're staring at your steering wheel or, your monitor at work.
Just rushing through it.
Yeah. And by the time dinner rolls around, your decision fatigue is just so high that you default to whatever is heavily processed purely because it's fast.
Right. And the fallout from that cycle is a phenomenon that Dr. Mitchell refers to as being overfed but deeply undernourished.
Overfed but undernourished.
Yeah, it's the ultimate modern paradox. People are consuming an absolute abundance of calories, but they are essentially starting at a cellular level.
Because calories aren't nutrients.
Exactly. Calories are simply units of energy that give your engine fuel, but they don't provide the specific complex micronutrients your cells actually require to, perform their daily maintenance or repair tissue or synthesize hormones.
Okay, but let me push back on that for just a second, though, because I think a lot of people listening might have the exact same defense mechanism that I do.
Sure. What is it?
Well, if I know my diet has been terrible all week, like if I'm just running on drive-thrus and iced coffee, why can't I just take a really high-potency synthetic multivitamin in the morning to, patch the holes in my diet?
Right, the patch mentality. Well, because taking an isolated synthetic vitamin to fix a nutrient-void diet is essentially like having a giant pile of bricks delivered to a construction site,
Okay.
but with no mortar, no blueprints, and absolutely no workers.
Oh.
Yeah. Yes, technically the building blocks are just sitting there on the ground, but nothing is actually going to get built. Your body doesn't just need the raw material. It desperately needs the delivery system and the context.
I mean, that paints a very different picture of that sterile supplement aisle. It actually reminds me of trying to learn a foreign language by just memorizing words out of a dictionary.
That's a great way to look at it.
Like the individual pieces are on the page, sure, but the syntax, the flow, the way the words actually interact to create real meaning, that is entirely missing.
That is a very, very accurate way to frame it. And it goes straight to the biological mechanism that Dr. Mitchell highlights. When a nutrient is synthesized in a lab, it's totally isolated.
Right.
But in nature, nutrients never exist in isolation. Never. They are bundled together in incredibly complex matrices. So when green superfoods enter the conversation, Dr. Mitchell is very careful to define them. She says they aren't magic erasers for a bad diet.
They don't just undo the drive-through.
Right. They are practical, complex tools to deliver the mortar alongside the bricks.
Okay, here's where this whole concept gets really interesting to me. Because when we talk about a complex tool, Dr. Mitchell specifically zeroes in on one plant to bridge this gap, which is Moringa.
Yes.
And I had, heard the name tossed around in wellness circles here and there, but looking at the actual nutritional breakdown provided in our source, the profile of these leaves is it's borderline absurd.
It's honestly one of the most nutrient-dense plants on the planet.
Yeah.
Moringa oleifera is a tree native to parts of Africa and Asia, and it has survived in some incredibly harsh climates.
So it's tough.
Very tough. And that evolutionary stress, that harsh environment, actually forced the plant to pack its leaves with an immense amount of protective compounds just to survive.
I mean, just reading down the list Dr. Mitchell provides naturally occurring inside this single leaf, you have vitamins A, C, and D. You have calcium, potassium, iron, magnesium. It actually contains plant protein, which is super rare for a leaf.
Very rare, yeah.
Along with this massive payload of antioxidants, polyphenols, and chlorophyll.
And, what's fascinating here is, well, the sheer volume is impressive, obviously. But the truly fascinating biological reality is the synergy.
The synergy.
Yes. This is where we answer your earlier question about why the synthetic multivitamin fails. Let's just take the iron in moringa, for example.
Okay.
Plant-based iron, which is known as non-heme iron, is notoriously difficult for the human digestive tract to absorb on its own.
Right, which is exactly why people who take synthetic iron pills often complain that, they don't feel any different or it just really upsets their stomach.
Precisely. The iron is just sitting there in the gut, completely unabsorbed, causing irritation.
Ugh.
But in a moringa leaf, that iron is packaged naturally right alongside a very high concentration of vitamin C.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, and when you digest them together, the vitamin C actually alters the chemical state of the iron in the acidic environment of your stomach.
Wait, really? It changes the chemical state?
It does. It donates an electron to the iron molecule, converting it into a form that your intestinal lining can easily, rapidly absorb. The plant literally provides its own built-in delivery mechanism.
So the vitamin C is the worker on the construction site actually utilizing the brick.
That's exactly the synergy Dr. Mitchell is talking about.
Mm-hmm.
And we also see this with things like polyphenols and a chlorophyll.
Right, chlorophyll, the green pigment.
Yeah, but chlorophyll isn't just the pigment that makes the leaf green. Its molecular structure is almost identical to human hemoglobin.
The protein in our blood.
Exactly, the protein that carries oxygen in our blood. It's almost identical, except chlorophyll has a magnesium atom at its center instead of iron.
Wow.
So when we consume these complex matrices, our bodies instantly recognize the biological language.
Which totally explains why every global nutrition guideline on Earth still stubbornly points to whole fruits, vegetables, and leafy greens as the foundation of health. Like, we simply haven't outsmarted millions of years of evolutionary biology with our little plastic bottles.
We haven't even come close. Your digestive system is a highly evolved processing plant, and it's designed to extract information from complex biological structures, not, white powders manufactured in a vat.
But, and this introduces a massive real-world roadblock for you and me. You can know all of this incredible biology. You can know that a raw moringa leaf is this total powerhouse of synergy. But you can't exactly forage for fresh moringa on your Tuesday morning commute.
Right.
So if Dr. Mitchell's entire premise is that we desperately need whole foods, how does she justify the use of a powdered product like Moringa Magic? I mean, isn't a supplement powder just another processed shortcut?
Well, it is a critical distinction to make, and Dr. Mitchell provides a very specific framework for how a product can actually pass her test without falling into that highly processed trap.
Okay, what's the framework?
She evaluates plant-based supplements on 4 strict criteria. She looks for clean ingredient sourcing, an absolute absence of artificial fillers, stringent manufacturing standards, and a complete focus on preserving whole food nutrition.
Okay, but how does a powder actually preserve that whole food matrix we just talked about? Like, don't you destroy the synergy the second you crush the leaf into dust?
Not if the manufacturing standard dictates exactly how the moisture is removed.
Oh, the drying process.
Right. If you blast a leaf with high heat to dry it quickly and cheaply, which a lot of companies do, yes, you absolutely denature the proteins, you destroy the vitamin C, and you ruin the enzymes.
You just burn it all up.
Exactly. But Dr. Mitchell points out that a product like Moringa Magic aligns with whole food principles because of how it is concentrated. By using methods like low-temperature shade drying or freeze drying, the water is gently removed. But the cellular matrix of the leaf, that whole complex bundle of bricks and mortar, remains largely intact.
So it's essentially just removing the water weight to make it transportable. You're left with the raw biological code, just in a dormant state.
Yes. And that dormant state allows for the simplicity of the product. Dr. Mitchell notes that Moringa Magic doesn't overcomplicate the formula by adding like a dozen synthetic vitamins on top of the plant just to make the label look more impressive.
Right. Which happens all the time.
All the time.
Yeah.
But this relies entirely on the concentrated leaf itself.
Which completely shifts how you can think about using it, Rather than viewing a concentrated green powder as some kind of magical vegetable replacement that just lets you eat junk food, you can frame it as a convenience tool.
Exactly.
It actually acknowledges the friction of your real busy life. It gives people who, just struggle to eat enough leafy greens a way to get those intact biological matrices into their system in about 10 seconds.
It removes the friction without sacrificing the biological context. That's the key.
Okay, so what does this all mean? What actually happens to your body when you take it? We have the leaf, we understand the synergy, we know how it's packaged. But moving from the botany to your actual day-to-day life, what happens when this complex matrix hits your system? Because the source highlights several mechanisms of wellness, but honestly, they don't read like typical supplement claims.
And they shouldn't, because Moringa isn't a targeted medical treatment. It is foundational support.
Right.
The first physiological impact Dr. Mitchell notes in the source focuses on digestion, which honestly makes perfect sense as the starting point.
Right, because if your gut isn't working, you aren't absorbing those nutrients anyway, no matter how synergistic they are. So how does a concentrated leaf like this actually impact the gut environment?
It comes down to the complex plant matter actually feeding the microbiome.
Okay.
Our modern diet of heavily processed, refined foods essentially starves our gut bacteria of the diverse fibers and polyphenols they need to thrive.
We're starving the good guys.
Exactly. So when you introduce a dense whole food source like moringa, those polyphenols act as prebiotics.
Prebiotics, not probiotics.
Right, prebiotics. They selectively feed the beneficial bacteria that are already in your gut. And as those good bacteria flourish, they produce these things called short-chain fatty acids.
Which do what?
Well, they actually reinforce the lining of your intestinal wall, and they reduce systemic inflammation throughout the body.
Wow. So we aren't just absorbing the vitamins from the leaf, we are literally feeding the workers in our gut so they can do their jobs better.
Yes, precisely.
And that gut function naturally feeds right into the second major benefit highlighted in the source, which is natural daily energy. And I find this one fascinating because, let's face it, our culture is completely reliant on artificial stimulants.
Oh, completely.
We just run on caffeine spikes and, like, neon energy drinks that really just borrow energy from tomorrow just to get us through today.
Yeah, because caffeine forces your adrenal glands to pump out cortisol and adrenaline.
Which is stressful.
It is a stress response. You feel awake because your body literally thinks it's in danger. It's fight or flight. But the energy supported by a nutrient-dense whole food operates on an entirely different mechanism.
It's working at the cellular level, right? Like creating actual fuel instead of just a panic response.
Yes, specifically within the mitochondria, which are the power plants of your cells.
Right, middle school biology coming back to me.
There you go. So to produce ATP, which is the actual chemical currency of energy in your body, your mitochondria require a very steady stream of specific cofactors. Things like magnesium, iron, and B vitamins.
The exact things in Moringa.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Because Moringa delivers these nutrients in that highly bioavailable synergistic matrix we discussed. It gives the mitochondria the exact raw materials they need to generate real sustained energy. You aren't tricking your brain into feeling awake. You are actually powering the cell.
Which means no crash.
No crash.
You are just operating at a normal baseline instead of constantly riding this exhausting roller coaster of, stimulation and exhaustion.
Right. And operating at that optimal baseline leads directly to the third mechanism the source emphasizes, which is how the body handles the exhaust from all that energy production.
Okay, you mean oxidative stress. The source mentions that Moringa's natural antioxidants help protect cells from this stress. But honestly, oxidative stress is one of those buzzwords that gets thrown around on every single health blog, and I feel like very few of us actually know what it is doing inside our bodies.
Yeah, it's very misunderstood. It is easiest to understand oxidative stress as cellular rust.
Cellular rust, I like that.
Yeah. When your mitochondria burn fuel to create energy, they naturally produce waste products called free radicals. These are unstable molecules that are essentially missing an electron.
Okay.
And because they're unstable, they tear through your cells, literally ripping electrons off of your DNA, your cell membranes, and your proteins just to stabilize themselves.
So they're essentially microscopic vandals just bouncing around, causing structural damage everywhere.
That is exactly what they are. And that damage is the root cause of what we experience over time as premature aging, chronic fatigue, and widespread inflammation. Now, your body has natural defenses against this, of course. But the source explicitly notes that everyday environmental factors like pollution, the chemical additives in our fast food, poor sleep, and just high emotional stress.
Basically just existing in the modern world.
Basically, yes. Those factors force our bodies to produce an overwhelming number of these free radicals. We are generating way more vandals than our internal security system can actually handle.
Which is where the antioxidants in the Moringa leaf come into play. But how do they actually stop the damage? Like, what's the mechanism?
Antioxidants are remarkable because they are incredibly stable molecules. They can actually afford to lose an electron without becoming unstable themselves.
Oh, that's convenient.
Very. So when you consume the high concentration of antioxidants found in Moringa compounds like quercetin and chlorogenic acid, they flood your system and willingly donate their electrons to the free radicals.
They just hand them over.
Yeah, they neutralize the vandals before they can damage your cellular machinery.
It's essentially this massive cleanup crew for the unavoidable exhaust of modern life. And honestly, it raises a much bigger question about how we approach our daily routines. Using a whole food tool like Moringa Magic isn't about treating a symptom at all. It's about providing foundational defense so your body can just do what it evolved to do.
But, and this raises an important question, this is exactly where human nature trips us up.
How so?
Because the moment we understand how powerful a plant's biological mechanisms can be, the immediate temptation is to use it as a get-out-of-jail-free card.
Oh, absolutely. The immediate thought is, great, I have my synergy, my ATP production is fully fueled, and all my free radicals are neutralized by my daily scoop of Moringa Magic. I can skip the salad bar, eat the office donuts, and just let the powder do all the heavy lifting.
Exactly. And Dr. Mitchell addresses that exact mentality directly in the source. Her response to the idea of using supplements to replace a healthy diet is a hard, definitive no.
So the shortcut doesn't exist, not even with superfoods.
The shortcut never exists in biology. Never. The core philosophy of this ditching pills for plants movement is that supplements are tools, never replacements.
Right.
If your baseline diet consists of highly refined sugars and inflammatory seed oils, Introducing a single scoop of concentrated greens is like trying to put out a forest fire with a garden hose.
It's just not going to do much.
The overwhelming inflammation from the bad diet will simply consume the antioxidants
Yeah.
before they can provide any meaningful benefit to your cells.
The foundation still has to be built by you. The source is actually very explicit about the lifestyle habits that must accompany a product like Moringa for it to actually take effect.
Yes, it is.
It lists them out so clearly. It says, you still have to put colorful, fibrous vegetables on your plate. You need to prioritize whole grains over refined flours. You have to actively hydrate. You have to move your body, protect your sleep, and find real ways to manage psychological stress.
Because nutrition is a compounding interest game.
I love that.
It's true. It is about consistent, overlapping habits executed over years, not finding a single silver bullet product to fix everything overnight.
Which brings total clarity to where something like Moringa Magic actually fits into the puzzle for you. If you are already putting in the effort, you're going for that daily walk, you're choosing the better lunch option when you can, you're trying to prioritize your sleep, but the reality of your schedule means you just still fall short on diverse, leafy greens.
Right.
That is where this tool really shines.
It acts as a safety net for your intentions. It ensures that on the days when the modern schedule inevitably wins, your cells aren't left entirely starved of the synergistic compounds they desperately need to maintain that baseline of health.
So bringing all of this source material together, the overarching takeaway from this deep dive really validates this shift away from the laboratory and back toward the garden. We're finally waking up to the fact that synthetic, isolated nutrients simply cannot replicate the complex biological language of whole foods. The synergy actually matters.
It matters deeply. The movement toward whole food wellness is grounded in undeniable nutritional biology. By utilizing clean, concentrated products like Moringa Magic, busy people can finally bridge the gap between the diet they know they should eat and the diet their schedule actually allows.
But the crucial reminder for you listening today is that you don't have to choose between, a perfect diet and just giving up entirely. Health is really found in that middle ground. It's about building sustainable habits and using natural tools strategically to support your very real, very imperfect life.
And, if we connect this to the bigger picture, the source leaves us with a rather profound irony to consider.
Oh, what's that?
Well, we noted that the antioxidants in ancient plants like moringa are required to protect our cells from the oxidative stress caused by everyday environmental factors.
Right.
But those environmental factors, the fast food, the lack of sleep, the artificial stimulants we rely on, are all byproducts of our total obsession with modern convenience.
Oh, wow.
It makes you wonder, if our modern environment requires more antioxidant protection than ever before, are our fast-paced convenience food lifestyles actually creating the very oxidative stress we are now turning to ancient plants to solve? Are we desperately using nature to cure the side effects of modern convenience?
Man, that completely flips the script on how we view our daily choices. Are the things we literally invented to make life easier actually the things making living so difficult at a cellular level?
That's his question.
It really is. That is definitely something to chew on the next time you find yourself standing in that highly categorized plastic bottle supplement aisle. Maybe it's time to stop looking for a laboratory fix and start trusting the complexity of the natural world again. Well, thank you for joining us for this deep dive. Keep staying curious and keep asking those great questions.